Hi folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Pub Quiz. We have some general knowledge questions and some trivia fun facts for you. If you're new here, I'm Alan, your regular quizmaster and host. Let's have a look at the rounds and rules. Today's quiz is over 6 rounds and features 75 questions. It's 1 point for each correct answer, and a score of over 40 is good, but a score of over 60, that's excellent. Round 1 is your easy quickfire trivia round. Good luck, let's crack on with the quiz. Question number 1. In terms of beers and lagers, what does the acronym IPA stand for? It stands for India Pale Ale. Question 2. Who is next in line to the British throne? That is Prince William. Question 3. Which US sitcom features the characters Sheldon Cooper, Leonard Hofstadter and their neighbour Penny? That is The Big Bang Theory. Question 4. In Arthurian legend, what was the name of King Arthur's sword? It was called Excalibur. Question 5. Hippopotamuses are native to which continent? They are native to Africa. Question 6. Which Australian actor starred as Wolverine in the X-Men film series? That was Hugh Jackman. Question 7. Which famous singer was famous for performing the moonwalk? Of course, that was Michael Jackson. Question 8. Which film studio's mascot and logo is called Leo the Lion? That would be Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Question 9. How many legs does a bumblebee have? A bumblebee has 6 legs. And quiz question 10. Which automobile company manufactures the Golf and Passat ranges? They are made by Volkswagen. Round 2 this week is called Humble Beginnings. You just need to guess who the famous person was before they were famous. Quiz question 11. Which Hollywood actor once dressed as a chicken to hand out flyers for El Polo Loco before fame? That was Brad Pitt. Question 12. Before fame, which actress starred in a 1982 Burger King commercial? Was that Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon or Sarah Michelle Gellar? It was Sarah Michelle Gellar. The ad was part of a 1982 Burger King campaign that poked fun at McDonald's. McDonald's sued Burger King, and as a part of the fallout, Gellar was banned from eating at the restaurant. Question 13. Which famous comedy actor once appeared as a contestant on the dating game in the 1960s? That was Steve Martin. Question 14. Which of these was not an early job of Hugh Jackman? Was he an ice cream truck driver, a party clown, or a PE teacher? He never worked as an ice cream truck driver. Question 15. Before finding fame as James Bond, which actor worked as a lifeguard, a milkman and a coffin polisher? That was Sean Connery. Question 16. Which Oscar-winning actor once worked as a circus lion tamer before his film career? Was that Anthony Hopkins, Christopher Walken, or Robert De Niro? It was Christopher Walken. At 16, he joined a travelling circus as an assistant lion tamer, helping perform with a lioness named Sheba. Walken later said she was like a sweet dog and that the whole experience felt completely surreal. Question 17. Before finding fame, which actor moonlighted as a bartender and private investigator in New York City? That was Bruce Willis. Question 18. Which Oscar-winning actress once worked as a jester at Renaissance fairs before her breakthrough role? Was that Glenn Close, Meryl Streep, or Susan Sarandon? It was in fact Meryl Streep. Question 19. Before finding fame as a rock icon, which musician worked as a janitor at his old high school in Washington State? That was Kurt Cobain. Question 20. Which actor was working as a carpenter at George Lucas's studio and ended up landing a lead role in Star Wars? Was that Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, or Peter Mayhew? It was Harrison Ford. Although he was working as a carpenter, Ford had appeared in American Graffiti for Lucas, but wasn't being considered for Star Wars, until his dry wit and delivery caught Lucas's attention. Round 3 is called Fugitives and Outlaws. Quiz question 21. In 1994, which NFL football star led police on a low-speed car chase through Los Angeles? That was O.J. Simpson. Question 22. Which infamous pair of fugitives shared the surnames Parker and Barrow? That was Bonnie and Clyde. Question 23. Which newspaper and publishing heiress turned fugitive did the FBI capture in September 1975 in a flat in San Francisco? Was that Leona Helmsley, Martha Stewart, or Patty Hearst? It was Patty Hearst. Hearst was kidnapped from her home in February 1974 by the Symbionese Liberation Army and later became devoted to her captor's cause in what is now cited as a textbook case of Stockholm Syndrome. Question 24. Which former NSA contractor leaked classified US surveillance documents in 2013 before fleeing to Russia? Was that Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, or Julian Assange? It was Edward Snowden. Question 25. What was the name of the fictional fugitive in the film The Fugitive? He was called Dr. Richard Kimball. Question 26. Which former political leader was found hiding in a hole in the ground on the 13th of December 2003 in Iraq? That was Saddam Hussein. Hussein fled Baghdad after the US-led invasion in March 2003. Moving between safe houses, he released audio messages claiming he was still in control until his capture that December. Question 27. What was the name of the real-life conman and fugitive depicted by Leonardo DiCaprio in the film Catch Me If You Can? His name was Frank Abagnale Jr. Question 28. Which famous lawman shot the fugitive Billy the Kid in 1881? That was Pat Garrett. Question 29. Which country's embassy in London did WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange take refuge in for over 7 years? Was that Bolivia, Ecuador, or Venezuela? He took refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy. Quiz question 30. Which fugitive was captured in Britain after assassinating Martin Luther King Jr.? Was that James Earl Ray, John Wilkes Booth, or Lee Harvey Oswald? It was James Earl Ray. Ray fled the US after King's assassination in April 1968, travelling through Canada and Europe before being arrested at London Heathrow Airport 2 months later whilst attempting to fly to Rhodesia. Round 4 this week is your Picture It round, and it's called Wild Things. Quiz question 31. Can you name the species of this snake? That is a cobra. Question 32. Can you name the species of this bird? That is a golden eagle. Question 33. Can you name the species of this ape? That is a chimpanzee. Question 34. Can you name the species of this big cat? That is a snow leopard. Question 35. Can you name the species of this lizard? That is a Komodo dragon. Question 36. How about the species of this shark? That is a basking shark. Question 37. Can you name the species of this mammal? That is a red panda. Question 38. How about the species of this mammal? This one is a duck-billed platypus. Question 39. Can you name the species of this bird? That is a toucan. And quiz question 40. Can you name the species of this bear? That is a sloth bear. Round 5 is on the year 1989. Quiz question 41. Which animated TV series about a dysfunctional family debuted on Fox in 1989? That was The Simpsons. Question 42. Which rock musician released the 1989 album Full Moon Fever, featuring the hit Free Fallin'? Was that Bruce Springsteen, Bryan Adams or Tom Petty? It was Tom Petty. Question 43. Which singer performed his hit Looking for Freedom on top of the Berlin Wall during New Year's Eve celebrations in 1989? That was performed by David Hasselhoff. His song became a symbol of unity, and his wall-top performance at the Brandenburg Gate drew an estimated 500,000 people from both East and West Berlin. Question 44. Which Nintendo handheld console made its debut in 1989, revolutionising portable gaming? That was the Nintendo Game Boy. Question 45. In 1989, which European country saw the execution of its dictator, Nicolae Ceausescu, during a violent revolution? Was that Bulgaria, Romania or Yugoslavia? It was the country Romania. Question 46. Which Soviet leader was in power during the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989? Was that Leonid Brezhnev, Mikhail Gorbachev or Boris Yeltsin? It was Mikhail Gorbachev. Question 47. The Tiananmen Square protests in 1989 saw thousands of students call for political reform in which Chinese city? Was that Beijing, Hong Kong or Shanghai? It was in Beijing. The student-led demonstrations, which culminated on June the 4th in Tiananmen Square, became a symbol of push for political change before harsh military crackdown shocked the rest of the world. Question 48. In 1989, which British Prime Minister survived an assassination attempt by the IRA in Brighton? That was Margaret Thatcher. Question 49. Which tennis player won his third Wimbledon title in 1989, aged just 21 years old? That was Boris Becker. And quiz question 50. Which future tech giant launched the powerful SE30 desktop PC in 1989, featuring 1MB of RAM and 40MB of storage, priced at just $7,000? Was that Apple, IBM or Microsoft? it was in fact Apple. The SC30 was a powerhouse for its time, but by comparison, a $50 Amazon Alexa today has over 100 times the raw processing power, RAM and storage, just to play your favourite songs. Now, if you made it this far in the quiz and you're enjoying the quiz, do me a favour, hit that like button. It's the best way to support my channel and any other small channels that you enjoy. Now, if you're new here and you've made it this far, then you're obviously a very intelligent person. So why not make that official and join the pub quiz regular VIPs? Grab your phone, scan this QR code on screen and hit the subscribe button. It's the best way to stay up to date with all the new content from the channel. Right, back to the quiz. As always, round 6 is your general knowledge round. 25 mixed format questions coming up. Quiz question 51. What's the name of the nearest star to Earth other than the Sun? Is it called Alpha Centauri, Proxima Centauri or Sirius? It is called Alpha Centauri. It's the closest known star to our Sun, about 4.24 light years away, and part of the Alpha Centauri star system. Scientists have discovered at least 2 exoplanets orbiting it, one of which may lie in the habitable zone. Question 52. What's the name of the liquid part that makes up most of your blood? That is called plasma. Question 53. Which Oscar-winning actor plays the role of Jackson Lamb in the TV series Slow Horses? Would that be Colin Firth, Gary Oldman or Ralph Fiennes? He is played by Gary Oldman. Oldman won his Oscar for portraying Winston Churchill in The Darkest Hour. During filming, he smoked so many real Cuban cigars to stay in character that he ended up with nicotine poisoning. Question 54. The Life of a Showgirl is the new album by which American singer? That is by Taylor Swift. Question 55. The Dalmatian coast runs along the Adriatic Sea. In which country is it located? Would it be in Croatia, Italy or Slovenia? The Dalmatian coast is in Croatia. Question 56. In which country did the October Revolution take place? It took place in Russia. Question 57. Joules are a measurement of what? Would that be energy, force or power? They are a measurement of energy. 1 joule equals the energy used when 1 newton of force moves an object 1 metre. It's the standard unit for work, heat and energy in physics. Question 58. Which entrepreneur founded and set up Starlink, a satellite network that provides high-speed internet across the globe? That was set up by Elon Musk. Question 59. Which French artist painted a bar at the Folies Bergère in 1882? That was painted by Edouard Manet. Manet is often called the father of modernism. His work marked the transition from realism to impressionism. He preferred to paint people going about their everyday lives in Paris. Question 60. Which of these fashion houses collaborated with Crocs to release a line of high-fashion platform clogs costing $850? Was that Balenciaga, Gucci or Versace? It was Balenciaga. Question 61. Who, at just 17 years old, became the youngest ever PDC World Darts Champion in 2025? That was Luke Littler. Question 62. Who was the last monarch of France? Was that Charles X, Louis XVI or Louis Philippe I? It was in fact Louis Philippe I. He ruled from 1830 to 1848 as the so-called Citizen King, before being overthrown during the February Revolution and fleeing to England, marking the end of the French monarchy. Question 63. Which New York crime boss was known as both the Dapper Don for his sharp suits and the Teflon Don because criminal charges just wouldn't stick? That was John Gotti. Question 64. Which actor made a cameo appearance in the sitcom Friends as the stripper hired for Phoebe's bachelorette party? Was that Brad Pitt, Charlie Sheen or Danny DeVito? It was in fact Danny DeVito. Question 65. Sudan, Eritrea and Yemen border which body of water? Would that be the Arabian Sea, the Persian Gulf or the Red Sea? They all border the Red Sea. Question 66. Which European city is home to the famous Tivoli Gardens amusement park? You would find it in Copenhagen. Opened in 1843, Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen is one of the oldest amusement parks in the world, said to have inspired Walt Disney when designing Disneyland. Question 67. Which actor played the role of Flash Gordon in the original 1980 film? His name was Sam J. Jones. Question 68. Which word denotes the letter U in the NATO phonetic alphabet? That is uniform. Question 69. Cape Canaveral is located in which US state? Would that be in California, Florida or Texas? Cape Canaveral is located in Florida. It's on the Atlantic coast and is home to NASA's Kennedy Space Center, the launch site for the Apollo missions and countless modern space flights. Question 70. The musical West Side Story is set in which US city? Would that be Chicago, New York or San Francisco? It is set in New York. Question 71. What type of volcanic rock can actually float on water? The correct answer here is pumice. Question 72. Who wrote the 1719 novel Robinson Crusoe? Was that Daniel Defoe, Jonathan Swift or Samuel Richardson? It was written by Daniel Defoe. Published in 1719, Robinson Crusoe is often considered the first English novel, telling the story of a castaway who spends 28 years on a remote island, inspired by real-life sailor Alexander Selkirk. Question 73. If you were celebrating your diamond wedding anniversary, how many years would you have been married? You would have been married for 60 years. Question 74. In which opera does the soldier Don Jose fall in love with a fiery gypsy, leading to a tragic ending? Is that Aida, Carmen, or Tosca? It is the opera Carmen. And quiz question 75. Who led the provisional government of the French Republic and restored democracy to France at the end of World War II? The correct answer here was Charles de Gaulle. Following liberation in 1944, de Gaulle headed the provisional government, uniting the Free French and resistance forces. He oversaw the restoration of democracy and helped shape the Fourth Republic. And that concludes today's quiz. I'll leave you with one final bonus question on the screen, worth 2 bonus points. If you enjoyed today's quiz, remember to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you're still up for another challenge, why not try out one of these quizzes here? Bye for now.